We have a super Brit Wres special, including a superstar guest, a retrospective look at Purpose Wrestling, and a look ahead to Purpose Wrestling's next show. Purpose Wrestling has featured stars such as Michael Oku, Connor Mills, Dan Maloney, Madcut, David Francesco, and many others. And on the 11th of November, they are back in action at the Merton Art Space. And the Purpose Wrestling Championship will be on the line. I am joined by Rev Pro Contender, Portuguese superstar, promoter of Purpose Wrestling, David Francesco. How are you?
Hi, nice to be here. It's really cool. I've been listening to the TN Tights for a while, and it's really cool that we get to do this. And I appreciate the spotlight you guys have been putting on the British scene and in all of us. I'm excited. Let's do this. And it's not really nice to talk to you. Where's your partner? What happened to him? Him and his majestic beard.
I know, especially right now, because it'll be getting much more wider as he prepares to be Santa Claus for December every year. He's taking a break.
Wait, is this an actual thing? Does he actually do? Really? Does like Santa stuff?
Every year he does his Santa stuff. So he grows his hair out. He loses the mohawk, starts to grow it all out, lets it all go grey and white, and he does a great job with that. He is the local councillor. He's very busy at the moment, so he's just going to take a short break, which is unfortunate.
100%.
But I've got some nice guest co-hosts lined up from different podcasts across the UK scene and even some of the European wrestling scene. And I'm looking forward to having these and looking forward to having Big Daddy Dan back in the chair as soon as he's
100%. I'll do my best to cover it. I am David Francisco. It won't be that hard. I'm made for this, but here we are.
Of course, TN Tights, the Great British Wrestling podcast for Great British Wrestling, as featured on bodyslam.net and the John's Podcasting Network. I am the Great British Attack with Mr. Andrew Moore and E2 Most. Right, David, we can't have you on and not talk about some of your career as well. I know we are here to talk about Purpose Wrestling, but you have been you are a 12-year veteran now. You started in 2010 over in Portugal in your native home.
When was my first match? It was actually my first match 2009. I understand if maybe it's not spread wide because it was like a trainee show and it's Portugal. So it's not like the stuff we do in Portugal. It's going to be automatic online. But let me check because I have a list of every single match I've ever had.
Wow.
I just stole it from Jericho. I realized that Jericho was doing it. The first time I heard stories about like him actually having like a listed piece of paper. So I just made a spreadsheet and I need to find, I believe it's 2009. I like to, because Portugal is always a bit weird with the amount of shows that you actually do. I did 8 years of training in Portugal before I moved here, but both because of just the exposure that I had here to the top minds in the world in wrestling, and also the amount of wrestling shows that I would actually do. I always say that like 8 years in Portugal is definitely not the same thing as 8 years here. I know it's on the other spreadsheet. I really want to find this now. So I always, when it comes to training, I've actually been training for 15 and a half years. I started in 2007. And I've practically, outside of injuries, I've practically been training at least once every week, which is pretty good. My first match was 28th of March 2009, and it was a battle royal, because of course it was.
It has to be a battle royal. Everybody makes their debut during a battle royal. That's a Rev Pro UK thing as well, isn't it? Also, we'll definitely talk about Rev Pro UK and being a contender. But you say, yeah, you had about 5 years wrestling Portugal. I found it was World Superstars of Wrestling and the APW, which is the Association of Portuguese Wrestling. 2015, you made your way over here, and I'm assuming that's when you joined Knuckle Locks because you started to make some Progress B show appearances.
Yeah, so I remember this is 2000. I'm horrible with dates. Why am I doing this to myself? 2015, you just said it. Yeah, of course. 2015, I moved here first because I knew I was going to move here. 30th of July, 30th of June, 2015 was the day that I officially moved here. So 3 months before in April, I did 2 weeks here. just to like see how it was going to be, just trying to figure things out a little bit more, including doing some training. And that's when I went to what was at the time the Projo. It was officially Progress's school, not even in Brixton. It was somewhere else at the time. And that was the first time that I trained here in the UK during those 2 weeks. And then eventually, yes, the reason, so Progress was very hot at the time. And when I started trying to see, once I decided I was going to move here, one of the first things I did was actually watch the entire chapter 13 of so Progress's chapter 13, which is all on YouTube. I think they had an issue with the hard cam or something. So they decided to that chapter specifically, instead of being behind the paywall, it was on YouTube. And I just fell in love with it. And I knew that London would be the right thing to do. Going there and training here at the Projo would be the right thing to do. And it 100% was. And immediately I had a chance. I moved in around the same time that the Progress team starts to do the potential shows. The first Endeavor were supposed to be the shows where they would develop talent for the main chapter shows, but then Endeavor just became their own thing because they had their own talent. That there was like an intermediate line there. It stopped being about giving people opportunities to develop as much. So they decided to create another kind of like branding of shows, another layer underneath, which was potential. And those were in August. And that was the first time that I had a match here. Myself and Roy Johnson, against the first time and one of the few times that the Geezers have actually tagged. Shout out to Tom Marvin and Sebastian.
I remember that. Is that chapter 13? Is that the one where Finn Balor and Zack Sabre Jr. go at it as well?
Yes. It's the one. Yeah, the one with if I'm not mistaken, it's the one where Finn comes out in the Joker. Face paint and costume, and it was very, it's a very, especially comparing to what we were doing at the time in Portugal. It's, which is sometimes I have conversations with people here that like fellow wrestlers that were born here and have always been exposed to wrestling here don't understand how good we have it here in the UK. Because a show like that just happening, and obviously there's a lot of work that went into developing it, but a big part of the benefit of it is the fact that wrestling is part of the culture here in the UK and it's seen in a very positive light. So anything that you do wrestling related is immediately going to be received positively, even if at first, because just like it's part of the overall culture, you know, it's been around for 50 years. So that's not the case as much in Portugal. In Portugal, you have to struggle really hard to even have a show that you're happy with attendance and gets a little bit of buzz, the minimum buzz of the very small online wrestling community in Portugal. Small but fierce and awesome. Shout out to them. And then the comparison of that to what was happening here in the UK at the time, and still happens to this day, it's completely different. It's night and day.
So it's WWE broadcast in Portugal at the time when you saw like first. Is that what you got interested in, or how did that come about?
That's exactly it. When I was
actually, I should know this because I remember being very young, and I used to go on holiday to Portugal very often in Faro, and of course they did have Sky Sports at the time, which had Sky Sports 1 on the sort of like TV channels in the hotel. So I'm assuming it would have been very similar in Portugal, mainly.
I do believe that when you went to Faro on holiday, what was happening is that the hotels were just using satellites to try and get Sky channels, because southern Portugal is very heavy when it comes to UK tourism. So there's a lot of catering directly to, they know their audience, basically. There's a lot of catering to that. But I don't think, I'm not saying it, maybe I'm wrong and it actually happens. I don't remember, and put it this way, I don't remember like scrolling through cable and finding Sky, just a literal feed from the UK. What was happening is that there was a little bit of like an underground demand for pro wrestling on TV. And there was this cable channel called Sick Radical. Sick is like a ITV or something. And the way, basically the channel was about trying to target a younger audience and going a little bit out there with the type of content. So wrestling kind of fit the mold. And at first they started to doing only 1 hour and of like a shortened version of Raw or something, or shortened version of SmackDown actually. And it was a huge audio success. Ratings were really high. So they started to invest more and more. And it's to the point when my fandom starts, we have Raw and SmackDown like a week and a half after things happened, and I knew about it from school, from people that I went to school with talking about it, and immediately the conversation was about the veracity of it, and I just checked it out and was hooked instantly, immediately, despite the best efforts of my mom to not want me to watch it while she was home because she hated JR's voice.
Oh no, not JR. God.
She hated JR's voice. She thought JR's voice was annoying, and probably the intonation of which with which he would say stuff. She just did not like it. I don't know. But you know, here I am 15 years later, and I'm the one doing wrestling for a living. You know, who win now, mom? Watch JR now. I'm kidding. I love her.
Well, were you surprised, sort of like coming over in here, and not just seeing the level of talent and things, but the amount of shows that were actually available in the UK, considering the size of the country?
Not with the amount of talent. It didn't surprise me because I knew that how things were happening here, and the kind of people that were coming to work here, or even from here, right? The number of shows, yes, and it's still very amazing how Brit Wres Away Day on Twitter sometimes posts a list of wrestling shows that he is aware of that are going to happen in the following 2 weeks, and it's hundreds, right? It's incredible how, and it's mostly because of how dense the population here is in the country as well. Like that helps. Like in London live the same number of people that live in Portugal. So, you know, it is very surprising, the idea that there are so many shows and so many big shows, from small shows that go everywhere, very localized with their marketing and their targeting, all the way to what was happening in the first weekend of October when there was so many big shows running at the same time, and they were definitely all a success.
Absolutely. Now in 2017, that's when you really started to break out across the UK, making more appearances for different types of promotions. But if we really fast forward onto 2021, you took a huge risk on 2 different occasions. One, choosing to become a Rev Pro Contender, considering obviously you're almost a veteran, and then of course building Purpose Wrestling. Now, did seeing someone like Brendan White and what it's done for his career inspire you to look at the Rev Pro Contenders division?
It was a very interesting conversation that I had with Andy when he invited me. The way it basically happened was, once the pandemic kind of like things were starting to pass and training was back on, we didn't have the school here, right? Necolox, as it was, couldn't continue as a business model. So why not go to the closest? There was obviously like other schools in London. I'm not sure if they were running at the time, to be fair. But Portsmouth definitely was running. I believe that was like a decision. Obviously, as well, getting feedback and training feedback from the number one promoter in the country is definitely valuable. And when I went to training, this sounds like I'm just saying what's supposed to be said, but I'm very honest in what I'm saying here. When I went and trained there was definitely with the intention of just going in and training and becoming better, being able to kind of step out a little bit of my comfort zone of the London scene of training and training with the people that I'm used to, and be able to just be a student. I think that definitely is, and continues to be to this day very beneficial to it. I was able to jump in on a few sessions on Saturdays in Portsmouth, kind of like get a group of people of going down to train as well. And one day, Andy just started discussing how he saw me as a wrestler and his opinions of me and everything. And the invitation to become a contender was it might have been a little bit surprising, but at the same time, as soon as the invitation happened, it made sense. When it comes to David Francisco as a wrestler, my presentation, I just before the pandemic had kind of dropped behind what I was doing before and how I was wrestling, and I was going in and finding a new perspective on me in the ring, and being a contender is the perfect way to introduce myself to a new audience and to really start from the start from scratch, which is another great angle, another great story that we can tell there. I've been in the UK scene for a few years. I've tried a few things. I've had a few opportunities, but nothing really materialized. And a lot of that, I 100% honestly believe I'm very big on taking accountability to everything that happens to you, both whatever can be regarded as positive and what can be regarded as negative. And basically, if what I was doing wasn't giving me the results that I was getting, that I wanted to get, then changing is not something that I have a hard time with. So it's easy for me to, okay, let's drop this. Let's try something else. Let's really find who I am. Let's find my voice. And it's maybe sometimes, and I kind of did a series on this on my YouTube channel about how maybe some people would have it as some sort of an insult, right? To be put in the contenders division and become a contender. But to me, it's an opportunity to really put down the expectations that maybe I would have of myself and other people, the scene would have of me, and really be able to start over and see it as an opportunity to find who I am. Because once I find who I am, then that's when magic happens in that ring. It definitely has worked. It's been horrible, the fact that I lost 6 months of this year to injuries, but with the few times, the little bit of times that I've actually been able to be in the ring and find who I am, it's been great. I just put a video last week on my YouTube channel about the little story that I did with RKJ, which to me is just a great example of exactly what I'm talking here. Let's go with things and see where they take us and find who we are and who I am in the ring. I wouldn't be able to do that before with fantastic Dave Francisco. There's no way that story could have been told the way it was, but it just felt better, way more natural, felt like this worked, and it was very beneficial for me. And when Andy in that afternoon at the Portsmouth School of Wrestling invites me to take part of the contender division, I think we both saw that opportunities like the one that happened with RKJ were very important. That match with RKJ and everything that surrounded it probably is like top 3 matches ever and moments of my career ever. And it may be number 1, depending on what day you ask me.
Yeah, because you have shared the ring with some absolute legends in Rev Pro, including Doug Williams at one point. The tag team match alongside.
First match. The first ever time I was in a Rev Pro ring was being in the ring with the first thing I did was lock up with Doug Williams. Isn't it that crazy? How like the first thing I do in a Rev Pro ring as soon as the bell rings is me being in the ring and locking up with Doug Williams.
I mean, it's an experience, certainly, isn't it? I mean, he is such a legend of the and of course, very recently you were in there with the Rev Pro Tag Team Champions, the Greedy Souls, Brendan White and Danny Jones. As we just mentioned, Brendan White was a contender. He is now a tag team champion over in Rev Pro UK and killing it as the Greedy Souls. But let's
what's the term? Like things went back to I can't speak this language. Exactly. There we go. I can't speak this language. I apologize. Very full circle moment for him and for me and Josh.
Excellent. Let's talk about sort of like purpose wrestling, because again, you've made the decision, the risk to become a promoter with purpose wrestling. So talk around the thought process of that.
Well, I wouldn't say that the risk was there 100% as if I was really starting something from scratch.
Mm.
Before the pandemic hit, Pro Wrestling Soul used to run from the Wimbledon Library, from the Merton Arts space, and Gio and Charlie did a great job of setting up that place there, fomenting a little bit of an audience that knew that was it. But above everything is the relationship there, and finding the work of finding the right venue to do it, finding the right way of doing it, even operational wise, and really knowing that there is potential there for that venue to be a pro wrestling reference, not just for London, but in the UK. They did that work. I was just picking up where they left off, and I'll forever grateful for that work and a lot of things that they did. Seoul was definitely a very special place, and so that made it easier, right? I was just picking up where someone left off, and I saw knowing the things that and the decisions that were being made by people as things were coming back from the pandemic. Felt like I didn't want that intermediate step between the training stages and promotions like UKPW, who pride themselves on giving the first few opportunities to wrestlers to be able to start their journey, and the bigger leagues like Rev Pro that we're talking about, and companies of similar level. There needs to be an interstep here, at least one, right? There needs to be a place where people learn they're already comfortable with being in the ring, having matches, but then they need to learn to have how to put a great match together and how to work to a certain audience, just a really last stage developments of their career, so that once they get the opportunities to be in Rev Pro, they are ready for it. They are really ready for it, not just with their wrestling, but their minds as well, their mindset. And I wanted to give my contribution to the scene, to create somewhere where that could happen. And honestly, to be fair, this was even before Rev Pro invited me to be a contender. I wanted somewhere to wrestle, and if that means that I will do the work of creating my own place to wrestle, then let's do it. Because the other option is that place not being there, and I'm happy to put in the work that needs to happen so that place is there for other people, including, and in a way, especially me.
I remember you mentioned UKPW there. So we've had Alex Gill on the show a couple of times, and he's always been very highly complimentary of yourself and the work that you've done, helped with him. So
I know, I heard.
Just thought I'd put that
Shout
out there. Now, you've mentioned a lot of young talent. So was there a kind of connection with the Knuckle Lock School? Because there have been a lot of young Knuckle Lock talents making their names over on Purpose Wrestling.
100%, I'd say so. And I think it's because it's the people that I've worked with and that I have trust, and they have trust in me. So a little bit of a history lesson for those that maybe don't have the context. I just talked about Projo, how Projo was the official school, Progress School. Eventually Projo became still connected to Progress, but it wasn't ran by Progress anymore. And eventually there was a rebranding into the Knuckle Locks Gym, and
it's now
Knuckle Locks just doesn't exist anymore.
The London
I wouldn't
School of
say
Wrestling
so.
now.
The London School of Wrestling, yeah. I wouldn't say so. It's very similar to what happened with Purpose, where operational wise, and when it comes to the way the people that are in charge and make decisions, there isn't a connection. There isn't like a lineage, right? I don't think you can attribute like the lineage of the Projo into the Knuckle Locks into the London School of Wrestling. What ends up happening is that there are people who were part of the same circles, and I, for example, learned mostly how to teach classes in Knuckle Locks, and I bring that knowledge into the project that is the London School of Wrestling. And it's similar with other people that also had that. But just like with Purpose, I had advice, and I asked directly for the help of Gio to help me set things up. But at the end of the day, it was my project. There wasn't a lineage per se, with the idea that the idea was to continue what was there. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that lineage of Projo into Knucklelocks, it ended with the end of Knucklelocks, and the London School of Wrestling has its own project that does drink a lot of experience and a lot of people from Knucklelocks, but it's not the same thing. Obviously I trained at Knucklelocks, and a lot of people that I've known and I know that are good and know their places are from Knucklelocks, and I wanted to, and I think I fit this category, especially when I was starting Purpose, of there are people like Michael Oku and Connor Mills who have, when wrestling came back, they were able to have the opportunity to continue and really develop their spotlight in the bigger stages like Rev Pro. But then there's people like Nino and Jordan and Rex Armstrong and Jordan Saeed, and this list goes on and on. I'm sorry that I'm not naming everyone that should be named here, but consider yourself included in this list, where it's people that I know are good and have a lot of potential, and they need a platform to develop and showcase that potential. And they're local, and there isn't anywhere else that is really putting a big spotlight on them. So Purpose will focus and give the spotlight on these people, right? Doesn't mean we can't continue. Obviously, I've been using Michael and Mills throughout the entire first year of Purpose, but things weren't really built around them. They were they were there to also help trickle down the knowledge and help those who are coming after them become better pro wrestlers, so that the scene all rises up. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like the Mr. Purpose, or those two people who are kind of being those, it'll be Jordan Breaks and Nino Bryant, who are becoming those local lads, those local heroes over at Purpose Wrestling, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. The audience has taken to both of them very dearly. And I also think that the fact that they are not showcased in a bigger platform yet helps not only them feeling special to the Purpose audience, but also helps Purpose feel special. There are plenty, and you can see them all in the Purpose YouTube channel. There are plenty of matches in the history of Purpose that would fit right in an Electric Ballroom or even a York Hall, in terms of their quality. And so to have that level of quality of wrestling in the Merton Arts space with wrestlers that this is where they are showcasing themselves and gaining their name and getting ready for the next stage of their careers is very special. I think it really makes Purpose stand out. It's one of the two pillars that I wanted to build Purpose on, is both the talent that is ready to be showcased but doesn't yet have the bigger spotlight on them, and very solid, good storytelling and booking and narratives. And those are always my two guiding lights as I put Purpose together.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the big stories that have been throughout Purpose in that first year, but I want to talk about sort of like the production side. You've made very good use of the space that you have. I like the fact that you decided to still use a full-size ring and not sacrifice and put a smaller ring to bring in more people. But the videos, everything seems to be of very high quality.
Thank you. I spent a lot of time on those. Operation wise, when it comes to using the space, when it comes to using the ring, I literally just grabbed what was made before with Soul and reused it because it works. And I learned, I was very, as I said, I was very lucky that they were there to help me, because I was able to just Geo especially, because I could just literally ask, how did you used to do this? And I would be told, and it would be done the exact same way, because they explore those and explored roads first, and they knew exactly which way to go and how things can work. So that made things so much easier for me. That made it was a lot of headaches that I didn't have to have while trying to figure things out the best. So it's one of the reasons why Soul started there, is just the fact that we can we have the lights at the Merton Art Space, and that place, it's very funny. Imagine a library that is just, you come in and it's just like a very long library, right? And you come in and you have your books there in front and a little cafe, and you have the area with the computers and the little kids area. And then as you go up a little ramp, there's a space in the back, which is a workspace. There's tables and people can sit, and that's where people go to work. That space also happens to have a fully equipped theater there. There's a stage, there's lights, there's plenty of chairs where if you want to do any kind of performance to a couple of 100 people there, you can. And we just, Gio found the place. It was great. And I just, getting from that and be able to produce the production there is very good. As for the videos, I think it's very much my own philosophy, and maybe to my own determinant of my quality of life. But I just think that there's a great opportunity. It was important for me to think of Purpose as a wrestling company that existed in the environment of the internet and not in the environment of TV. I wanted to not fall for the trap that we can face these promotions with a TV mindset. So, and also it's not like there's a huge budget for marketing. So the best next thing is to use the platforms that we have available to our advantage. Content goes on YouTube because eventually it will be possible. Eve does a great job with this, and I think they really explore their platform to their best advantage, where now they're in a position where they can have on YouTube, people can subscribe to them on YouTube and they will do live shows on YouTube, but then you can also find plenty of content that's there for free. Their model is because YouTube is the second biggest search platform in the world. So people will find Vive through searching for certain wrestlers they use and seeing the matches there. And then as they delve more into their content, they see that there are shows, they can advertise the shows, and they can get people to, if they want to watch the next show, it's going to be live on the same platform that you're watching these matches right there. And then, so I wanted to do something very similar to Purpose because I really believe it works and it's the future of wrestling. And then at the same time, it's like TikTok just works great. People can just get exposed on TikTok, and maybe you're going to find people in London that like wrestling that are just going to be scrolling through their feed. And after they watch the WWE content and the AEW content they find, they see Nino Bryan and Connor Mills going insane in the little TikTok, and they see it's in London. So they will see that more and more, and they'll explore, and we will find fans through that. It's a lot of hard work, but it's free. So I don't have to pay if you get it, people. So it's like, it's either money or time. And I guess I'm giving my time to really invest in that. And the result is not only are we getting, people know the stories. We can tell the stories, even if people didn't come to the show, just because they can see the video there. They know, they have context to the matches before they come and see the matches themselves. I really wanted to invest in, as much as possible when it made sense, have a little video package of 30 seconds or a minute before a match, so that people that maybe did not see the other shows or don't have this context from social media, they can still understand that this match is not just a throwaway match. There is a little bit of story behind this match. And I think that helps a lot with the presentation. I think it helps the matches feel more important. I think the first time I did a video package was for the tag team match, was Rex and JJ versus RJ and Saida. I may be wrong, but I also did a video package for Nino and DOJMO, and it's just the fact that lights go down, we see a video package, the light comes back up, the interest has happened. It immediately makes people feel, it makes everything feel important. It helps people center them in the ring. And then it also, I think, helps with the reputation of Purpose, so much that here we are talking about it.
I 100% agree. I remember having
like, you've never came to a Purpose wrestling show.
Not yet.
But you know the stories because of, and that's important. I think that's good.
And I am a Patreon member, so yes, I do
Thank
get
you.
to see the full shows as well.
Thank you so much.
I really, because I saw the first early shows that you put out directly for free before setting up the Patreon, and I was just like, Purpose Wrestling. It's a promotion I wanted to follow. As I say, the production values were high. Sometimes it doesn't matter how great wrestling is. I remember, I was about to say, the Arrows of Hungary, who I had on, told me it doesn't matter how great the wrestling is if your production is crap. No one's gonna. So as I say, everything that I was seeing, I was just very much enjoying. I also really like the use of European competitors and bringing in fresh people. You very recently had Karen Bagante, Claudia Bradstone, Fabio Romano. I know Tristan Archer was due to be on a show, but I believe that had to be cancelled. But so tell us about the use of these guys, and are there any other European talents that you are looking at the moment?
I need to be very honest. There isn't, the way that those bookings happen is mostly because of previous relations that I've created with them in other countries. Like Tristan, I've obviously have been working with them a lot. Rick's in France, and Claudia, I've known her for over a decade. Kareem, I did meet here when he did a stint with WrestleForce a few years ago. But then he helped when I went to Italy. He was there, and there's another relationship I've created there. The majority of the times what happens with them is that they get in touch with me and say, hey, I happen to be in London at this time. Do you want to do something? Should we work together? Because the budget isn't there for me to be able to pay traveling for wrestlers to come in like that. I would love to one day, but it's a small operation for now. And but the fact that my friends, right, my acquaintances and my friends mention it is like, well, yeah, let's try and make this work. Sometimes it's very hard. With Von Vertigo, I think it's the funniest, the most interesting one of all, because I've been in talks with Von for months and months, and the problem that Von would hit is that I book a lot in advance. So the time that he would give me to say, hey, I'm going to be in the country in 2 months, is there any chance we can do something together? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm fully booked already. Because the compromise for telling the stories that I wanted to tell is I need to think of them in advance. And then if things don't go right, if for any chance, one reason or another, there's conflict schedules, then we'll have to adapt and find a plan B, right? Like, unfortunately, cases like the Williams or Alex Windsor not being available, or the reason why I ended up having a show that had 4 tag team matches out of 6 matches. It's just scheduling conflicts like that. So he's the best example of it. But it was having all this talent on the show, and especially in the case of Karim and Claudia, I'd say Fabio lives here, so Fabio just he'll have plenty of opportunities to be part of the Purpose shows. The Purpose fans love him. It's incredible how crazy people go for Fabio. It's like he's just like other people in the roster. He's like forcing my hand. But similar to how we're using other talent that doesn't have a bigger spotlight yet, I think it's great that I'm able to help a little bit. Like Claudia, I think is seriously, I honestly think that Claudia is top talent in continental Europe, especially in the women's divisions. But people won't know that if she only wrestles in Portugal. And to say this is unfair to her, because she doesn't only wrestle in Portugal, she wrestles here a lot. But Purpose, I happen to I work very hard for this. There's a certain spotlight at Purpose. People look at Purpose to see who's next, right? There's some cases I know, and other cases I suspect that there's a few people that have gotten their number of bookings up because of the way they were presented at Purpose. And I'm very happy for that, and me included, right? It means that the objective is being fulfilled. So when they come and they say, hey, let's work together, and I'm like, yes. Or if there's the open, like, yes, let's do this, because when else are we going to have the chance to do this again? When else will our schedules really fit in a way that you can have this match in a place with very good production, That's going to be on YouTube for you, for everyone to see. It's a good showcase of yours, and you can just use this good footage to also market yourself. And you can tick something off the checklist of being able to wrestle in London or wrestle in a library or wrestle whatever. I've felt nothing but love and positive attitude from everyone in any locker room, even people that I haven't had the chance to work with. And trust me, there's a list of people where like, I really want to bring you. I don't have a space for it yet, but I will find it, because I'm also limited to my budget and to the fact that my shows are tight. I run 6-match shows.
Yeah.
And so it makes me very happy that I'm able to showcase them, and hopefully I'll be able to continue that, showcase more people.
Excellent. I hear Endakara is going to be in the country in February. Swedish superstar. Okay. He's fantastic.
I know him. I know Enda. Have I wrestled Enda? I think I've been in a match with him. Maybe I've been in a match with him at the library. I will tell you in about 30 seconds.
He's so fast. Bloody, he really is.
No. I am. I thought I was, but no, we didn't share. So I met him at Progress. The first time I met him was when we were both crewing at a Progress show, and I trained with him a little bit. He was part of a few of the soul shows, so he has wrestled at the Merton Art Space. Very good talent, and this was 3 years ago. I can only imagine, especially because I know that he did a little stint of training regularly with WXW. I can only imagine how much better he is now.
Yeah, he's been doing some awesome stuff. Body Slam in Denmark, in particular, and I think it's Stockholm Wrestling in Sweden.
Yeah. If I book him on the show, he might be the second best European wrestler on the show.
Ooh, that's fighting words, if you ask me. Now, let's talk. You've just had your 1-year anniversary back in August, which is fantastic. Congratulations on that. Let's talk about some of those top rivalries. Sticking with the main one to begin with, Destination Everywhere versus Purpose.
Yes.
And, I think that really helps set Purpose as a stage, I guess.
I think that Destination Everywhere were instrumental in establishing the level of people we're going to work with, and the idea that in Purpose you're going to see things a little bit different. Nils, Mike, and Ash and Oshin have been dancing and dabbling with Destination Everywhere as a stable for years, and we were going to run with it right before the pandemic hit at Battle Pro, and obviously like the pandemic hit and put a stop to that. And what am I talking about? They were I just remember they were at Progress. They had like a stint in Defeat of Progress. Did they do Ali Pali as a stable?
Possibly.
No, Do Not Resuscitate was not against Destination Everywhere. Okay. It was another.
I was thinking it was going to be Destination them,
but they did. They had. They never wrestled the four of them.
Boys,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so they had a rivalry there. There was stuff happening there. Maybe that was also cut short with the pandemic. I don't exactly remember how things
remember
went.
Pretty Deadly were involved as well, because they were having tag team matches with the NIC. Great matches as well. Really established Deadly.
They're just a very special team. The one thing I do know, and I 100% believe in this, the best showcase of Destination Everywhere as a stable was by far at Purpose, and I was very sad that I didn't get to tell the full story. But starting from the beginning, I just think like just even the angle that we introduced them with, you can see that at the end of Jordan Breaks versus Doug Williams is on the Purpose YouTube channel, and it's at the end of that match that the angle happens, and just the idea that we could play with production. It was like lights off, balaclavas, freaking, I don't know, gang members coming in and beating up the like two big people after what felt just like a very nice, good, heartfelt match. Very special moment there of like someone who admires Doug Williams wrestling Doug Williams, and they come in and ruin it, and immediately followed by 4-on-4 chaos, right? 4-on-4, them versus us. establish them as a top unit, something you don't see anywhere else. And the only time Destination Everywhere competed as a unit was on that December show, Puppies Are Forever. Great name. And it was a very special moment. I remember I either heard this or someone heard this and told this to me, someone I trust, that they weren't making this up, how the show ends with us challenging them for the 4-on-4, and there's people saying, I need to get a ticket right now because I need to find out how this finishes. And that's it. That's exactly what I was aiming at as a booker and promoter, and kind of what I want it to be. It's like the wrestling is great, and it's important that I maintain a high standard of quality of wrestling, but also couple with that the stories and the emotional connection people will have to it. So the overall arching story was Destination Everywhere wanting the Purpose Championship to be able to really cement their ownership of Purpose. And we told that story, helped elevate both Jordan and Nino. And then we were going to go into a second story that was going to take us through the rest of the year that I think was going to be very special. Maybe I'll tell what that story was in a year. I'm not ready for that yet. It was definitely a shame that we couldn't, that September show was cursed. It was definitely a shame that we couldn't. The original plan on September was Destination Everywhere versus Northwest Strong 4-on-4. And that, along with other 4 matches and the date of the show, were moved and changed somehow over and over and over again. It was a headache, but it was a shame that we couldn't pay off Destination Everywhere and the story that we wanted to tell the way we did. But at the end of the day, it's just wrestling, and Ash and O'Sheen, we're not feeling it anymore. And one of the important things for me is that people come to it's Friday night in a library in front of 120 people. It's not that huge. It's a big deal, but it's not that huge of a deal, to the point where I will want people to be there even if they don't want to. It's important that people who are there, like, wrestling at the end of the day at this level needs to be something that we do and that's fun for us to do, and we enjoy our time there. And if people aren't enjoying their time, not because of anything in particular, it's just they're not into it anymore, which happened to a lot of people after the pandemic, then the right thing to do is to step back. And not only do I respect, but I commend that. And once that happened, that happened around the same time that Mills' turn on Oku happens, Rev Pro, and it was just like, let's just drop it. It's just easier if we drop it and rebuild and restart with something else. We knew that the story with Mills and Mike would be told at Rev Pro, and we had a way to make everything make sense. But once that is coupled with Ash and O'Sheen taking a step back, then we just dropped it. And it's a very special moment and a very special phase of Purpose. I have nothing but great words, and I have to thank them all for the work that they did. They just helped establish Purpose as it is.
Yeah, because out of that you had your other main rivalry, which was Connor Mills and Jordan Breaks, and which would eventually be for the championship, and another fantastic rivalry, great set of matches.
Which is I'd say that Destination Everywhere versus Purpose is Jordan Breaks versus Connor Mills. I was sitting with someone a long time ago, the first time that I talked about creative with someone at Purpose, and I wanted to hear their thoughts. And this was months and months ago, how I knew I want Jordan Mills as the main event of the first show. Circumstances didn't lead to that, but anyways, I want Jordan and Mills as the main event of the first show. That's going to build to Destination Everywhere versus Purpose, where Mills pins Jordan in that match, and that builds to the finals of the Purpose Championship, where it's Jordan versus Mills again. It's the rematch. This time, Mills is a full-fledged heel. This time is a big payoff. It's for the big title, and Jordan wins. The Destination Everywhere versus Purpose ends up being a secondary story in the main arch story of Jordan versus Mills. A great matchup, great matches every time. and two people that worked really well and gelled really well. Top talents in London for sure. I think Jordan has been the person that has found himself the most at Purpose. If you see Jordan in the beginning and you see who he is now as a champion, he is the standard bearer for what I want Purpose to be when it comes to showcasing new talent and giving them an opportunity to develop, because Jordan Breaks now is unique probably in the world. No one wrestles like Jordan Breaks. Jordan Breaks, and that's a great thing. He has found himself. We know who he is, and now he's ready for the big spotlights and the big moments.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing that you've managed to do is not just have sort of like a main story involving the main event scene, because what makes a good promotion is also having stories on the mid card, I guess, if you want to use that term. And one of the big ones I saw was the East City Sovereigns, RJ Singh and Jordan Saeed versus JJ Lynch and Rex Armstrong. And so tell us about building that rivalry.
It felt a little bit on my lap. It wasn't, as opposed to the story regarding the championship and the way Destination Everywhere worked, that was planned a huge time in advance. That one kind of fell on my lap and we just rolled with the punches, mostly with the fact that JJ Lynch decided to take a step back and he wanted his last place to be at Purpose, which was very special for me. It was an honor to be able to do that. And from then on out, plans kind of changed around a little bit, including because I wanted to, it was very important for them, especially for JJ, that he would be able to help build someone, right? And originally that match was going to be against the NIC. Just scheduled on that show that time would be a match against the NIC, and they beat the Heat City Sovereigns before to set them up to go against the NIC's undefeated streak. But just I wanted to use that to build someone else, so we kind of pivoted back to the City Sovereigns. And once JJ informed me that's what he wanted to do, and from then on out was like, okay, then this needs to be intense. How can we make this intense? You guys should do so there's a great segment with Rex and Jordan Saeed where the challenge happens, where there's like a pull apart brawl, and it looks great on the video package. It's still it might be my favorite video package that I've done of all of the ones that I've done for Purpose. It just worked well. The way we finished the first match, where it was a little bit of a fluke, and then gelled that into the second one. The good thing about it is that it was nothing but we built it around stakes and conflict, animosity, and everyone involved has a great understanding of what wrestling is. And what resulted in it was a very, I use the word special a lot, but if there's any time to use the word special is on that match. It's one of the most emotional moments in Purpose history, in what was probably one of the most emotional shows that we've done in Purpose. Things just clicked for the audience. It clicked for the people in the ring. When you have four wrestlers at the level that they are at, and they really understand what wrestling is, and they go out there and they just do magic, it helps showcase the bit fun to figure out, okay, where do we go from it now? Obviously JJ is gone. What happens to Rex there? I'm excited to develop that story with Rex. RJ and Saeed, like from that match, RJ got himself the first shot at the Purpose Championship and was a credible contender because of what that match meant, the stakes that were involved in that match. And it's been fun to be able to keep them at a high level. And I'm also very excited to where the East City Sovereigns are going to go here in the future of Purpose.
And now you've been able to add NXT UK superstars, former NXT UK superstars, Shah Samuels and Eddie Dennis. And we've had Eddie Dennis. We know the story. He literally phoned you guys and said, I want to fight Nino. Can you confirm this?
I can confirm that what Eddie Dennis said in the post-match interview, the interview that he did after he wrestled Nino, is 100% accurate. We discussed working. I've known Eddie for years. I was able to train with him. We've shared cars. We've shared the ring. He's a very positive influence in me, in the locker rooms he's in just hang as a person to hang out. And once the opportunity was there, it was very obvious that I would ask him to see if we lined up in working together. And unfortunately, Eddie Dennis as a one-off appearance or as a regular appearance is outside the purpose budget. But Eddie did mention when we were discussing it that he would be able to do a special favor if it meant that he got to have a match with Nino Bryant, because he really wanted that match and he never had a chance to wrestle Nino before. As he says, from the people that he considers his students, the people that he had a big hand in training and helping out, it's the only person that he never had a match with, and he really wanted to. And that did work. We could work with that. That coupled with, it was so funny how I had that conversation with Eddie, and then days later, I found out that Luke Jacobs can't do the September show. Because once Destination Everywhere was out, I wanted to use the talent that was going to come anyways from Manchester. And I was like, well, let's give Nino Bryant, and Andy Quildan was very gracious in allowing the title defense.
Yes.
Let's have Luke Jacobs defend against Nino. Unfortunately, Luke couldn't do the date because he was available, but he wasn't available anymore on that Friday. So a few days later, after I had that conversation with Eddie, when I was telling Eddie, well, probably in 2023, I think we can make it work. I said, well, fate has these things, doesn't it? And I asked him if he was available in September, and he was, and we made the match happen as quickly as possible. I'm very happy he did. I think it was a very special moment for both of them. And obviously, like, the match was great, and I believe I put it on. Yeah, I put out the entire show online in one go. But I'm not sure if you reviewed it already. It'd be interesting to see how many sugars you gave that one. But it was, without wanting to pull the curtain back too much, I could tell how special it was for them, both of them individually, to have that match. And I am very happy that I was able to take part in facilitating that.
And the crowd absolutely loved it. They were well into it, because I did just watch it, actually, and it was a awesome, very good match.
It's tremendous, yeah.
And then, of course, Shah Samuels made an appearance as well
on that show. Yes, similar situation where I asked Shah if things lined up between Purpose and Shah, and it did. So we were able to finish that show with a big surprise, and he's gonna have his first match for Purpose on Friday.
Yeah, let's talk about the Friday card, which I for some reason don't have it up anymore. I did have it up, but bear with us.
I know it by heart if you want me to run it.
It's on the Twitter page. Here we go. We'll start with Shah Samuels versus Connor Mills. If there's been a superstar that's beginning to break out of the shadow that he may have been in, I've never seen him in that shadow. Some people have, and he's really breaking out now, and all across Europe, and especially through Purpose.
Mills has taken the opportunity to leave Destination Everywhere behind. He saw that as a chance to reinvent himself and present himself in a different light, and I think he ran with it. He really knew how to benefit from that. he was waiting for, maybe even himself was feeling a little bit, this is me speculating, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if himself was feeling like he was always associated, like pulled down a little bit by the shackles of being destination everywhere. And as soon as he felt that free, then he could push himself and be himself more, and really bring out what's inside who Connor Mills is in there. Going back to the conversation we're having earlier about being a contender, and he has ran with it. I think Connor Mills today is a different wrestler than he was 2 months ago. Completely different, even though it's just that you can tell he's an upgraded version of it, but there's something that clicked in his mind, and he's really benefit from it. It's I've built purpose around him, and there was no one better for that role, and to really give everything to purpose the way that he has. And I have a lot to thank, and Jordan definitely has a lot to thank over the fact that Mills was such a great partner, dance partner there. And now focusing solely on purpose, who is this new Connor Mills in relation to purpose, right? He doesn't have destination everywhere around him anymore. He's by himself, and he seems to be happy with it. And he's facing someone who is also an incognito in purpose, Sha Samuels, who is coming into the ring for the first time in the Merton Art space. Apologies, he's been in the Merton Art space before. In the purpose ring, it's the first time he's there, and he has a stint of a few years gone, learning and developing his own craft. He's not the same person that he was last time he was at the Merton Art space. Two big question marks over them, but it's a very exciting question marks, because you don't know what to expect from this match, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
you're going to be excited about it no matter what. You know it's going to be great.
And then, of course, on the other side of that, you are facing Michael Oku. So in almost, there is a bit of a circle coming back around to there, because, of course, you were part of the Purpose defending team, I guess, if you want to call it Defend Purpose Wrestling. Little pun there for you. But, yeah, yourself and Michael Oku are going to be, well, the OJMO in, you referenced that, you keep that reference in Purpose.
Yes, he's the OJMO, the little prick. I don't know. There's a very special match I had with him that I just basically took his championship away in 13 seconds. But let's focus on parts here. Michael Oku, the first match he had at Purpose was against men like the radio in front of Martin Art Space. One of the first references is to Purpose management. They might be. And if you see throughout, by the way, we can go back to it, but Solomon Lamb versus the OJMO is the first completed feud in Purpose, and it's very special and very interesting. I'm so happy with that one. And the last man standing they had was such a great cap off to a beautiful feud they had, from the OJMO interrupting Solomon's Lamb return words after he injured himself on the first show, to Solomon being the surprise tag partner to replace Doug Williams and get his hands on the OJMO, to the OJMO cowering out of Solomon Lamb, and that leading to Solomon Lamb not being able to interfere in the match with Nino, but also Destination Everywhere not being able to. And then the last man standing, the OJMO blaming losing to Nino to having Solomon in his mind. They did the last man standing, and the OJMO didn't get up. He let his legs fall down to the floor off the apron of the ring, and he was lucky. He had to be carried out. Solomon Lamb was laughing and smiling at the end of the last man standing. It's scary, and I don't know where he's been, but I think that sooner or later he's gonna come back to Purpose to haunt some more people. And yeah, going back to it, through all of this, the OJMO keeps mentioning and referring to Purpose management, whoever they might be, with that stupid smirk on his face and a little bit of an intended sarcasm, maybe like somehow that's an insult and I should be insulted by it. But it's very open who's running Purpose. I've been honest and transparent from the beginning because I want people to know, because I'm happy to bring that transparency. Fans wanted that. I don't know why he's acting like I'm not being transparent, but I've been. Unfortunately, took things a step too far. And that coward decided to challenge Nino Bryant when he knew Nino was not going to come out. It's like, I don't know, someone had to do something about it, and I was feeling good enough. I've been away from the ring at Purpose because of my broken arm, but I was feeling good enough to go out there and do something about it, and I did, and I'm going to. I'm very excited for this Friday because I'm going to spend 10 minutes punching the OGMO in the face, and then I'm either going to drop him on his head or make him tap out. One of the two.
Sounds like a good plan. Now, Laura Di Matteo, she's become really the established...
It's a lovely Friday night, and you can watch it while you have great beverages and enjoy it. You know, we can do it together.
Sounds like a plan. As I say, Laura Di Matteo is going to be in action. She's really established herself as a key figure in Purpose throughout its history. And the debuting, Livy Grace, somebody who's been around the scene for quite some time. How do you see this match going?
That's hard. So Laura has been undefeated at Purpose. She's the only person at Purpose that is 100% undefeated. And she quickly affirmed herself as the cornerstone of the women's division at Purpose. And now that the Purpose Championship has been decided and we can start to focus on other divisions, I really want to put a bigger spotlight in the women's division at Purpose in 2023, and I have a few plans that I'm excited to share when it's the right time with the world. But Laura forced my hand into having to build around her because she's been great. It was important to have a cornerstone of the division, and Laura, who I've known for years, trained with her at the Projo, trained with her at Knuckle Locks. This is definitely the best version of Laura that there's been. And she really established herself. And it's hard not to build around her and build from her. So it's going to be very tough to beat Laura. Livy, the first step in this development, which I feel like I've been doing for the past few shows, is to introduce new talent, more talent to the women's division, to the Purpose audience. And so we had Maya Matthews, obviously. We had Amira in the ring again, and now we bring in Livy Grace in, who I've also known for a very long time. And she's also, I've seen Livy Grace in the ring recently, and I do believe as well this is also the best version of Livy Grace. Not only, also her offense is different, you know, and that's positive. She brings variety to the division itself, which brings excitement. And I think this is a great opportunity for her to establish herself and for Laura to have a challenge at a level. And who knows, maybe Livy Grace will do what seems impossible and pin the undefeated Laura Di Matteo in her debut. I'm crazy enough. She's crazy enough. They're crazy enough. Who knows?
You've got the odd couple of Ollie Peace and Bullet, who has really been obviously making a name for himself, versus the Bryant brothers, Nino and Bryant the Younger, Xander. I've heard a lot about these two as a tag team. A lot of people are telling me lots of good things about these two as a team.
South London Wrestling, a great promotion that runs from Surbiton, once main event in one of their shows with Connor Mills and Michael Oak versus Nino and Xander, the Bryants. Not the Bryant brothers, the Bryants. Just a note for everyone out there listening.
There is one
Make
more.
sure that we call them the right thing. Yes, it's been another story that's been developing here, and I'm happy that we were able to tell things to introduce people in places where they can mean a little bit more. Not everyone gets that opportunity, but Xander does, and that's pretty cool. Nino's family has been a staple of the Purpose audience for a very long time. The OGMO has been kind of like calling them out and blaming them for. I didn't post that in the YouTube channel. I should. But it is in the match. So the OGMO versus Kieran Lacey at the end, the OGMO kind of does an eulogy to Destination Everywhere, and he says that he blames the Nino's family. Anyways, Ollie lost in the anniversary show. Ollie lost to Nino in like a minute. I obviously Ollie thought that was an embarrassing loss because him and Bullet decided to attack Nino with a chair after the three-way, and Xander didn't want to see his brother being hit with a chair in the head, so he came in and he took the chair. I think it was very brave for him to stand up to Ollie and especially to Bullet. You said they were an odd couple, but I think that they are really gelling together. Their dynamic really works and brings something different to Purpose as a product. And the chance for them to face it, that match with Dead Sad Boys was so good. I really like. People are gonna be able to see it pretty soon on the YouTube channel. That match was so good. I think they should all be really happy and proud of what they did because it was really good. And only a Bullet like showcased themselves in a very good light. So now now things are personal, right? I mean, there's chair shots. There's Xander taking away Ollie and Bullet's big moment of trying to decimate Nino Ryan. Nino wants revenge. Xander wants revenge. This is gonna be heated.
We go. The 0121 are in action. Both men like Doris and Driller Dan Maloney against the teams with attitude, or the Power Rangers as I refer to them, Kieran Lacey and Mark True. It's because it's the teams with attitude. Zordon actually says we need to find teams with attitude to make Power Rangers, and I'm a geek. I remember this stuff. So I actually refer to the teams with as the Power Rangers. So sorry, lads.
They are so much more now as well. I was forced into this. I'm not complaining about it, but I think it just is a great showcase of the level of talent of Mark True and Kieran Lacey, who have been developing themselves for a few years in mostly a WrestleForce, but also in other places. But when Tristan Archer, and the anniversary show is going to have Dan Maloney versus Tristan Archer, and Tristan Archer unfortunately injured himself and he couldn't make the show. And my first thought was, okay, let's give this and hopefully will happen in the future. They were both very excited about it. And this is a great opportunity to showcase someone new. And Mark I think he was the first person I thought of. I can't think of anyone else that I maybe have thought of before, but I thought of Mark immediately. And I was having this conversation with someone that helps me with just so I can bounce ideas just about Mark, and just the idea that will this be basically the question I asked was, will he choke? And I shared this with Mark. I didn't think he would, but it's not like I was like, oh, I don't know, he's going to choke. That wasn't it. It was like, there's a chance that may happen. Do you think will happen? Am I being too trusting of Mark's ability? And they immediately said like, no, it will be fine. And definitely myself and everyone at the show, both the wrestlers and the audience, was like, this will be fine. This will be a good showcase. I don't think anyone was expecting for the match to be the level that it was. And maybe that's on us, maybe that's on me, because I know how good Mark True is. The ability of Mark True to grab that opportunity and run with it, and in one night affirm himself to not just the Purpose audience, but the wrestling scene in London and in the UK. There were a lot of people talking about that match. That match was one of the most watched matches on YouTube in the past few months. And it's for reasons, because it's incredible. It's an incredible match. And then Shot Chaser, Kieran Lacey goes in the ring with the OGMO and has what was probably the best performance of his career. Once again, a match that you think, it will be all right, Kieran will do good. But no, these guys are just, as a booker, they are forcing my hand into, because they're really good and the audience is really connecting with them. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to showcase them more. Which, don't get me wrong, it's great for my business.
Yeah.
Right. Let people buy tickets. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. But it's just, this wasn't, once again, it wasn't one of those things that I decided beforehand this was going to happen. They were given opportunities and they ran with them. And Kieran was also a replacement of a replacement. The original match was going to be Reese versus Doug Williams. Doug couldn't do December. Lacey stepped up to that. And then because of the change of dates, Reese couldn't do the show. So the OJMO stepped in, and it's another incredible match. I shouldn't be surprised, but I confess that I am. I won't be anymore. And my expectations, and I think everyone's expectations, people who are going to come to see the show, is that this match is going to bang because they know. And there will be people that maybe don't know. They come because the 0-1-2-1 are definitely like a top team in the UK. And let's watch the 0-1-2-1 against these guys. And they're going to get out of that match and they're going to see, oh, these aren't just some guys. These are the freaking teams with attitude. They will make names for themselves this Friday because they're going to face a top team, and they're going to be more than at the level.
I think
because that's what happened in the last 2 times.
Very true. I did shout out that Kieran Lacey and Michael Oku match recently on Twitter because that was I saw it being rebooted. It's just great match. Now in the main event, this is going to be great. This is good. I mean, Jordan Breaks is a great, one of the best young wrestlers in the country for traditional British wrestling, and he's going to be taking on Mad
in general.
Yeah, and he's a bit crazy and insane, but we cannot forget how good of a wrestler Mad Kurt is. He wanted to be the next Zack Sabre Jr., and he's fully capable of doing it if he wanted, but he's having a bit of fun with Mad Kurt at the moment. This is going to be an excellent display of wrestling.
They had a match. I'm looking for it right now because if you want to know how good Mad Kurt is, it's not the first time that Mad Kurt and Jordan Breaks have a match in a relatively big stage. They had a match at Riptide. Okay, Head Drop has the tag match. I don't know. Maybe the Riptide match is not on YouTube. But they had a match at Riptide that was very good. And I guess it's not on YouTube. It was very good. And that was years ago when they were still trying to find themselves. And now they know exactly who they are. So the match is going to be even better. Jordan Breaks, and I've discussed this with Jordan, we're both in the same wavelength. Jordan Breaks' reign is not just about establishing and affirming himself as a top talent in the country, but it's also about establishing and affirming the Purpose Championship as a big deal. And I think the best way to do that is to get Jordan to face top talent in the country, right? Veteran RJ Singh, super fight season general Dan Maloney, Matt Kurtz. And what I like about this reign, if we look at the reign so far, is that not only is, because we haven't, it's not like none of these people that are going to fight for the championship are people that was just like, oh, look, here's a big star to come and wrestle our champion. These are 3 people that are part of the regular roster of Purpose. They are established to our audience. There's a reason why they are getting the title shots. But also, they're very different. They fit very different, let's use the word, categories of wrestlers. And Jordan is very excited about the prospect of facing these different varieties of wrestling, facing different wrestlers, having different matches, and being able to still have the challenge of having them at the high level that being in the main event, being the champion requires. I think the thing I'm excited about this match the most is the creativity that's going to happen in this match. This match will be very different from the Dan Maloney match. Will be very different from the RJ Singh match, different from the Connor Mills match, and that's a positive. That's a good thing. I think Matt Kurt is one of the most creative wrestlers in the country, and I think funny. I think people I'm going to say something that is going to sound questionable, but trust me, it's not. He is one of the top minds for wrestling in the country right now. He really understands it. I did once a live show with him, and we were talking about just wrestling in general, and mostly in this case, we were talking specifically about marketing in wrestling and promoting, and he understands it better than a lot of people that I've discussed this with, and I know, and I've learned a lot from him. But that also applies in the ring, right? Like Matt Curtis is the person that there was an idea in the Matt Curtis Rex Armstrong match of having a drink off. Like, how are these? It wasn't just another match like on any other one, and Rex has a big part of that as well. But they wanted to do something that would be different and also that would suit their characters. So they did. And I had a few comments from fans, and other people heard comments from fans are like, this was so different and it was good, it was good different to what they used to. And I'm expecting a similar level of sentiment from the championship, but at the same time, it's a championship match. It will be that not applied to an opener, but applied, so that level of creativity not applied to an opener match, but applied to a main event top match, which I'm very excited to see and I'm very excited to share.
I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic show. I look forward to catching it on your Patreon or via the 1 or 2 matches that you will release on YouTube. But as we say, Friday, the 11th of November, at the Merton Art Space, Wimbledon, 6 fantastic matches, very different talents, very different matches throughout the card. I think you should get down to see it if you can, because I can't. I live all the way up in the northeast. It's really hard for me to get down south these days. But I will be attending a Wrestle Purpose show in the near future as part of something I have to do, because I've never seen wrestling in a library. And what you guys do is fantastic.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I think it's really cool that I'm happy the way we are presenting and putting the product out where someone everywhere can watch it, we are local is a bit less local than what it used to be. So we're going to have the show on the Patreon as soon as possible. We also will release the show in its entirety on YouTube. We won't release the full 2-hour edit the show, but we'll release the individual matches. They will eventually be on YouTube. My goal would be to have that happened to every single match we had. There's a few matches that aren't out. It's not a marketing decision. It's just I didn't get around to them yet. It's as simple as that. There's so much that, especially once we started going monthly, there's so much that goes into both coming out of the show and going into the next show. That sometimes some things just fall through the cracks, and making sure all the matches are on YouTube is one of the things that falls through the cracks sometimes. But the VOD is not about this is the only way you can see it, because we understand that that's not viable. There's other companies that are way bigger that have that model, and they should. The VOD is about if you want to support, if you want to like, for example, you, Andy, who can't buy a ticket, but maybe you can support us with a subscription to VOD. It's just another way for people to just throw a little bit of support, help us continue to run. It's a small operation, and we are very I don't want to put any pressure, so I don't want to use the word dependent, but ticket sales and similar support like that is what will ensure that we continue to go and know the resources that we have to use them in the best way to make sure that purpose lives on, right? So it's the fact that we live in a world now where we can give that opportunity to everyone in the world to if they like the product, if they enjoy, just throw that support. You can watch the shows a little bit earlier than everyone else, but at the end of the day, if you want to enjoy the shows for free, you can, because we understand that Purpose is not a top company, and we don't want to be eager like that, especially in 2022 in a world like today. Hope that makes sense.
Well, during the week on the next Brit Wres Roundup, you will have my review of Purpose Wrestling's last show. What was the show called again? Hungry Like a Wolf.
Yes.
So you'll have that one, and Soft Pro as well, because they just come up, and I'm going to. It's good. I can definitely put it out there. It's going to be a good score. I can put it that way. But I look forward to talking through the entire show on the show, and hopefully you guys tune in for that as well. And David, thank you for being here today. I've actually sat and just really enjoyed our chat towards your career, Purpose Wrestling, and everything that goes behind it. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you. If you guys want to check out Purpose Wrestling, everything is on the website. I think will be the best way for people to find out what we do. PurposeWrestling.com for tickets. Links to the VOD. It's PurposeWrestling.com/VOD. Link to the YouTube channel where you can watch everything. Follow us on social media. It's at Purpose Wrestling everywhere, and Twitter at WrestlePurpose, because it's 16 characters, Purpose Wrestling, and that's too much. And in my case, same. I'm David Francisco everywhere. On Twitter is I'm D Francisco. If you want to find out more about me, I enjoy doing YouTube stuff. I have like videos on my career, and I got matches, I got highlights, I got all of that there. Just follow me on your favorite platform. I do also have a podcast feed. I haven't put out something in a while, but I do plan on doing that pretty soon. It was one of the first few things that I had to end once other responsibilities came up. So you can do that there. You can find links to all of this, davidfrancisco.net. The website is I need to update it. So like it's just a way to get all the links there. And hey, if you're in London, you want to train some wrestling, come down to the London School of Wrestling. The easiest way is probably at London School of Wrestling on Instagram or Facebook. There's also Twitter, London School of W, or message me directly if you want to find out more about it. Open to all abilities, and new beginners, we will have them a new course in January. So I'm waiting for you.
There you go, have it. Support David Francisco, support Purpose Wrestling, support the London School of Wrestling, support British wrestling, support independent wrestling, and remember, don't feed the trolls.